I had a couple very powerful mind-body sessions that were pain body release, actually, type of sessions. And during the work and during letting the awareness of a feeling in my body, rather than resisting it, letting it persist and letting it grow and move through my body, I went through some incredible changes. I released so much energy that my whole body, at one point, I remember, just broke out in an entire sweat. I mean, just wet, the whole body. And my temperature changed completely. I mean, the energy moved through my body in such a huge way. I was profoundly affected. I mean, and afterwards, I felt like I'd been cleansed. Almost like an exorcism, I imagine. I've not been through an exorcism, but it was like freeing yourself from something toxic and feeling like brand new, like, you know, how leaves look after a rain or something. It was like, I really felt that good.
One thing I've learned about this work is it's definitely not about getting rid of discomfort or even getting rid of pain, but it's really more and more about seeing what's real. And I'm discovering that a lot of the suffering that comes on after the pain, that hangs around after the pain, is not real, and it's being generated. It's being kept around.
Basically, this work has really kept me present. I mean, that's the basics for this work, is staying present to whatever is going on. The pain is going to come up. The thing that in my past, I was always trying to avoid the pain. I realize in not trying to avoid the pain, but meeting it, being willing to meet it and witness it and watch it, that I just let it wash over me and then it goes away. It's always going to come. I realize that, as many of us have talked about, that the suffering around the pain is optional. The pain is always going to be there, but the suffering is optional. And I chose in the past to suffer. And I'm not choosing to suffer anymore. I'm choosing to look at my pain actually in a really positive way. There's that old saying, no pain, no gain. And for me, the pain that I've come through in the last 3 years has been so transformational that I have incredible gratitude for that experience. And I welcome it now. It's not to say that I want to be in pain body all the time, but I realize in dealing with it and meeting it head on and not trying to avoid it, it just comes and goes, just like the ocean. And the way I've been dealing in my life recently, I just feel like I'm in a much better place in dealing with myself and dealing with other people.
Pain brought me to this work. It was a critical crisis for me, probably the most pain I'd ever experienced. And I was really feeling desperate and went through different channels, and it wound up here. And first did the pain body workshop, which was phenomenal. It was exactly what I needed. And it was a way that I got in touch with layers and layers that I didn't even know was there. And it was just so transformational to get to the other side of it. And at the end of that, I knew that this is where I needed to be, and this is exactly what I needed to be doing. And I'm so grateful.
I mean, my big thing was anxiety. I had lifelong anxiety. And so what I realized is I was trying, same thing, I was trying to cover it up. I was trying to make it, you know, I was trying to Band-Aid it instead of just go into it and go through it and come out the other side. Same with fear, depression. Depression was the one I didn't want to look at in myself. And I think a lot of people, it's really hard for them to really go into it. But it works. And the other thing is that there's something, I think there must be something comforting, because when people have really deep conditions, it seems inevitable that they blame themselves and they hate themselves and they wonder about themselves. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? So this addresses that on all levels. So you go into the feeling and you go into the self-criticism, you allow it all. You allow every level and layer of it to emerge and to be transformed and to be healed. So I can't imagine a condition it wouldn't work with if people are willing. Now, the main challenge to me is that we have a society, Western civilization, we're all up in our heads, and we like to stay there. It feels more comfortable. So the challenge to me is, for myself and working with people, is how to assist people in moving out of that head that wants to, make it all okay and put the Band-Aid on, and to move deeply into the body, deeply into the experience, deeply into the allowing of whatever comes up.
Well, that to me is the foundation of most of this work, is the pain body release, because once again I want to point out that actually the pain itself is the pointer. It's kind of like if you follow the path to the beginning, the pain itself is part of that path. So in the right light, with the right techniques, I think you can follow that down to the beginning of where that path begins. And usually you'll find a story from what I've experienced. And you start with the story, and then you find out the emotions that were related to that, and also feelings. And then those are the things that you bring up as part of the equation of what we call dealing with that situation.
Personally, it's been with me working with me as a client. The pain body release was very effective. I felt like I immediately was more calm. I was able to permanently drop the energy around some of the heavier issues in my life. When my father was dying, it was a very traumatic time for me, and I was able to be present with him in a way that I know I wouldn't have been able to be so present with him. It made it a beautiful thing to be with him when he died, rather than a horrible trauma. I was able to release a lot of the guilt that I had carried about my relationship with my father. That's a specific thing. In general, within days following a pain body release session, I would just have more energy and more clarity, a sense of calm and more presence. I guess I was more able to be present in my body. I wasn't distracted. I had no idea how much life energy is tied up on an issue that I carry in my body. And after doing pain body release, I would just be a lot lighter, would be the way I would put it, I guess.